Hey guys! I'm currently at home visiting my family in California, and so as I'm getting ready to leave, I've been reflecting a lot on what I miss when I'm not here and what I get really excited about to have or to see when I am here. I've been living outside of the States pretty permanently since 2013. I did live in that time for a little less than a year in New Hampshire and also about a year in Los Angeles. But outside of that, I've lived in other countries. A majority of that time, Germany was the country that I lived in, and I also was traveling without a home base for quite a bit of that time. With that said, these are things that I've noticed, and some have gotten stronger with time. Now, the first one, and I think the most obvious one that everybody feels, or majority of people feel, and I might have already mentioned this before in a past video, is that I really miss my family and friends. I miss getting to see them and be with them in person. It's just never quite the same if you're not with them in person. And I think for me, that's gotten harder over time and not easier, which I did not anticipate. I thought that I would get more used to it, but especially as they have kids or people you love start to get older and get sick, it's really hard not to be able to be there for them in person, to support them, and also just to be around the children as they make their first steps, and that stuff happens so quickly. It's really hard to not have Auntie there in person, and just to see how excited they get when I come, and sometimes how when I leave, like that they don't fully understand. That's really hard. Another thing is diversity. Now, I just want to say that not everywhere in the States has the same amount of diversity as where I grew up here in Los Angeles, because here is definitely a huge mixing pot of all kinds of diversity of people. But I also lived in upstate Vermont for a period of time, and there's definitely not the same amount of diversity. And I would say in that case, it's more similar to like a small town in Germany where I live now, as opposed to here in the big city. But because I did grow up a majority of my life in Los Angeles, my American experience, and I think a lot of people's American experience, is having a variety of people from different backgrounds, different countries, different ethnicities. And I just miss having that around me. I miss seeing people of different walks of life, of, neighbors listening to different kinds of music, experiencing different kinds of parties and different kinds of food, and just being exposed to all that, seeing different kinds of people on TV. It feels so colorful. And then to go from that and go somewhere where it's predominantly white German, especially because I live in southern Germany, not in a huge city. I'm sure in somewhere like Berlin or Hamburg or Munich, it's probably different. But because I don't live in a huge city now, I live in a small to medium sized city, I don't experience that anymore. And so I really miss that and the accessibility to that. Kind of tying into that and expanding is I miss the food in Los Angeles. And also just in America in general. I feel like there's such a greater diversity of food, and not just in terms of ethnic food, but also like food for people that have allergies. Now, I personally don't have any allergies to food, but I have friends that have nut allergies and gluten allergies and are lactose intolerant. And of course, you can find those things in Germany, and I do notice that they're growing over time what you have access to, but I just feel that here there's way more options for those kind of things. It's not like here's your little island, this is what you can have. They really have expanded on what is the possibility for gluten-free food and things like that. And because I really enjoy to cook, and I enjoy to cook for friends, I feel living in Germany now that it's harder for me to have access to those things that I would like to make or do, because there's not so much variety of things I can cook. Additionally, I am vegetarian, and at home I'm primarily vegan. And here in Los Angeles, there is nothing that I can't find for vegan or vegetarian. I don't worry about it if I go somewhere. I just went to Universal Studios the other day, and almost all of the menus had vegan food. And when I say vegan food, I don't mean a vegetarian burger, because this is what everybody has on every menu, but actually really quality food too. So I just miss having that, also to go to a restaurant and knowing that I most likely will not have a problem to find something. Especially like going to a German restaurant, it's really hard. I find that they don't really understand it. And there's just not as many capabilities, especially still in restaurants, there's just not as many options. I had this experience once where I wanted to make tamales in Germany, and I could not for the life of me find the corn husks to, it's where you put the tamales. And if you don't know what tamales is, it's like a corn meal or corn flour that you add water to, and then you stuff it with cheese and meat or peppers or whatever you choose, and then you cover it in the flour, and then you put it in, you can also put it in a banana leaf, or you put it in a corn husk, and then you steam it. And I had to hunt for them. When I found them, they were super expensive, and then they also had like developed mold, I think because the package was maybe like sitting from the person that had it for so long, like they weren't fresh. And I would never have to worry about something like that here. I could easily find, I think it doesn't matter what the food is from what country, access if I want to make different kinds of foods. And the last thing is shopping. Where I live in Germany, there's just not as many options for shopping. And not that there isn't options, there are, but especially if I want to get like a home appliance or something, there's only like MediaMarkt where I can go. There's just not as many places. And there's just a lot of more mom and pop shops, even for things like appliances or home goods or clothing stores. And in one hand, I think that's absolutely phenomenal and wonderful. But it's so hard to find things at a discount or things that are less expensive, because I think Germans like things that are higher quality. It's in America, you have this range of options, right? If I want to buy a water cooker, I can buy a cheap water cooker for $20, and maybe it'll take longer to cook, and it'll be, I don't know, made partially out of plastic. But or I can buy, a water cooker for $100 made out of steel, and it offers, it starts on its own or whatever. But I feel like in Germany, there's way less variety, especially price variety. And I think that's because people expect something of higher quality. Now, that is wonderful and it's great, and I understand it. But because I didn't grow up that way, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to spend $50 on the water cooker. I just want a cheap $20 water cooker that does its thing. And I don't want to put money out on it because it's fancy or because the toaster has a bagel button on it, And yeah, that's just not, from my experience, that's not so feasible. And I just miss that so much. Every time I come here, I like fill up my Amazon list and I ship everything to my mom's house, and I bring it all back with me, and I get so excited. And I also get excited because I can just do same day shipping or next day shipping. And I know it's a controversial topic and I get both sides of it, but when you grow up that way, it feels so accessible. And then to not have that anymore, sometimes it's just so exciting to come here and just have the access to it so easily. I think I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to do a part 2, and I'll share more, because as I keep going, there's more stuff coming up in my head, and I would love to share it with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed the part 1 to this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.